felt like you were breaking up with us right there. Like that's what it, like it kind of hurt. Like where you're like, look, it was great. I gave it an extra chance. I already, but. Scrubs was a solid first episode.
Scrubs was a comedy show with heart.
Scrubs was fun for its time.
Okay. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast, the podcast in which we watch the first episode so that you don't have to. We watch the first episode, we talk about it. If you want to suggest an episode that we would watch and review, just say WTF Seinfeld down below, or WTF ER down below if you want to see more doctor stuff. We are here with Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, as always.
Hey, everyone.
He's a comedian, actor, writer, musician. We're also joined by Camille F. It's really Falciola. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Also an actress, doing just fine. Thanks very much. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're going to talk about Scrubs. First episode called My First Day. Good title for first episode. How's everybody doing? I think Camille just covered that.
I'm fantastic, but I'm always fantastic. So
great. For everybody asking, yes, Camille is Swiss.
Because everybody's asking.
I was kind of curious.
Yeah. Oh, Michael, you want to tell us a quick summary of the first episode?
Absolutely. For this first episode, John J.D. Dorian, a young doctor fresh out of medical school, rises from bed and heads to Sacred Heart Hospital for his first day of his medical internship. Upon arriving and receiving complicated requests from nurses, J.D. comes to realize that despite all of his schooling, he doesn't know Jack.
Okay. Good to know. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Great narration. Great everything. So, first of all, before we get too deep into the meat of this show, Camille, what we like to do is we first talk about what we expected. I personally have never watched this episode. I've never watched the show. I don't know anything really about it. I just know that a friend of ours named Darth loves it. So what I expected was that it was going to be pretty good, because most people say it was pretty good. And I expected it to be moderately funny. I think that's it. I think those were my only real expectations. What about you, Michael?
Yeah, Darth got me into it too, but also my brother liked the show, and so like after I heard my brother liked it, I was like, all right, if Darth likes it, okay. But then my brother likes it too. Okay, I guess I'll check it out.
Yeah, Darth
but
likes
when I first watched this series all the way through, I was actually working at an attorney's office, a social security disability attorney. So I was actually exposed to a lot of medical terminology. And so that's kind of what drew me into this show, is just how accurate actually they are. And it's been said that they are the most accurate medical show on television, even though they're just a comedy. But that's kind of what I was, I guess what I was expecting was, kind of a funny TV show about medical stuff. So.
Medical stuff. What about you, Camille? What did you expect before you ever watched the first episode?
So I think I had really high expectations, just because I've heard of this show so much throughout the years. I mean, it's a show that was on for 9 years, I think, right. 2001 to 2010. And everybody kept saying it was so funny. And honestly, I thought the pilot was a bit disappointing.
Well, that's the second part of the question. So you expected it to be what? Great?
I expected it to be really funny and really taking you in for a ride.
But the second part of the question is, what did you get? And it sounds like you're a little disappointed by it.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it had its humor. There are definitely some moments where I laughed, but that's why I think it was fun for its time.
Oh, so you think it's kind of dated?
Yes.
Got it.
A little bit.
I'll tell you what I got. I didn't expect too much. What I got was that it was good. To echo what Mike was saying, something I noticed was that it felt very accurate. It felt very realistic in that you didn't feel like you're watching doctors doing what doctors do. You felt like, oh shit, what would I do in this position? Like it felt more realistic in that, yeah, what do? Do you just kind of stick the needle? And there probably
Like,
are these things that you have to, these mental barriers or emotional barriers that you have to push through. And so it felt more realistic, maybe not so much in like the technical stuff as much, but just in the emotional ride that people actually go through in real life as nurses and doctors and what have you. So, and I also thought, oh, it's got a little bit more heart, I guess, like Michael again mentioned, had a little bit in there. So maybe there's more of it later. What did you get, Michael?
Well, I'll actually talk about how I just rewatched it, because when I first, I don't really remember what I really got the first time I ever saw this show, but actually rewatching this pilot for the first time, and I've seen this pilot. This is probably the third or fourth time that I've seen this pilot. But just watching it this time, I think I'd have to agree with Camille that I was a little bit disappointed in it. And there are definitely some things that are a little bit dated. It's a little bit sexist. I don't think that they could get away with some of the stuff that they got away with back in 2001 when this episode came out.
What was sexist about it?
Well, I guess I made some notes here. Let me go back to.
You should have had the notes pulled up.
There was
I'm having my notes
there
here.
was the line where after JD first met Elliot, the girl that's in your picture there. He's like watching her walk up the stairs, and he's like, "It's like two Pringles hugging."
Yeah.
Which
first of all, it's just weird, but yeah.
I was too stuck on trying to think like, is that a compliment? Is he saying that her ass is like fucked up? Like what?
Right, but just the fact that he's kind of like commenting on her ass is like in like a dudeish way, kind of kind of objectifying her a little bit.
I'll say that what I found to be disappointing, I didn't really have too many expectations, but the part that really got me was how just unrealistic it was, how quickly and easily they have some kind of romantic chemistry and connection. Like immediately he's like, "Hey, you want to go to dinner with me?" I was like, okay, that's possible. She could hit it off with the guy and she'd be like, "Hey, he's nice. I'm single. He's cool. No strings attached. Let's go out and have fun." Doesn't mean we're dating. Doesn't mean anything. Sure, that part's believable. But then at the end, when she gives him a kiss, I'm like, Christ, guy, do you know men and women like in this world? Do people kiss at the end of their first shift? I don't know. Is that?
Well, it wasn't like a super passionate kiss. It was more just like a peck on his like half of his lip. Like.
Absolutely, but we're not in France. What do you think, Camille?
I mean, if that's the way shifts are supposed to be on your first day, I've been doing it wrong the whole time.
Get with the program.
Right? So, yeah, I do agree that it was a little bit sexist. And I just felt like as much as it had its moments and it is funny, and I do agree that it is very real as far as the emotional, I didn't feel much of a connection with the characters at all in the first episode. I was just like, okay, some guy starting his first shift, but I don't really care. Like they didn't do anything in the first 5 minutes for me to really care about this character or relate to him, because I'm not a doctor nor a nurse, so I have no medical experience whatsoever. But I felt like they should have added something that you could relate to him as a, hey, look, he's just like all of us. Other than the first day jitters, but I don't know.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I felt like he was, maybe he wasn't relatable. I felt like he was relatable, but I think it wasn't so much that he was relatable, but more that the way they presented it was that we can see ourselves in that position. Not that we could see ourselves in his shoes or with his personality or the things that he does, but just like, what would I do if I have to stick a needle in a gut and it's spraying back up at me, or what, but obviously they weren't really going too much for realism. There's a lot of fantasy in there, like the racing scene was hilarious when he's got the coffee and he's just throwing it all over himself, shaking his hair.
Well, and that's definitely something that you see later throughout the series too, is all these kind of flashbacks and flash fantasies, is what I'll say. Is more what you get is you get like, I guess it's cutaways, right? They cut away to like, oh, that's like if this kind of thing happened, and then you cut away to that, you know, kind of thing happening in his imagination, and it's mostly takes place inside of like JD's head, right? I mean, the first episode is called My First Day, and actually every episode is like my this, my this. There's one episode called Myocardial Infarction, which is a heart attack. That's like the medical term for a heart attack. And it's all because it's from his perspective. It's what's running through his head. And there are a few episodes where it's like his story or her story or their story where they go into other people's heads. But like 99% of the series is from JD's perspective.
What's his name? JD?
That's JD, yeah. John
Dorian.
Okay, and the other one I didn't know was, what's Cool Guy's name?
Kirk?
No, Cool Guy, the older doctor.
The guy with the doc tattoo.
I don't know. He's got like red hair. He's kind of a jerk.
Oh, never mind.
To him.
So you talking about the chief of medicine?
Not the teacher guy, but the guy that pops in. He kind of ends up being like a father figure. I know that later on in the series he calls them all these women's names.
Dr. Cox, yeah, okay. Dr. Cox. This is Dr. Kelso, the guy behind me with the flames
turns into
coming
a
out
demon.
Yeah. But Dr. Cox he's the kind of father figure guy. Yeah, it's Dr. Cox.
That is something that I expected that I was wrong about, is because I remember people talking about him and how he's Dr. Cox and how he's funny and how he calls them Nancy or Susie or Sally or whatever it is. And so I thought he was going to be kind of like the jerk character that always razzes him and always, picks on him or whatever. I was like, oh, I'm going to like this guy. He's an asshole. Perfect. And then I was like, first of all, he didn't call him any names. He was only kind to me. He didn't even follow his own rules where he's like, don't talk to me. We're still making the rule about you not talking to me. And then like 2 minutes later, he's like, all right, let's talk.
Right.
You know, so he was a totally different character than what I expected, actually. Does he become a jerk later? I mean, do I get anything?
It's kind of that same kind of thing where he's a jerk, but to teach him a lesson, to kind of help him grow as a doctor. But he does call them women's names. It's like maybe it happens like in the next episode or like 2 or 3 episodes after this. It's like, but very soon it starts happening, and he does it all the time, and he always calls them a different woman's name as well. It's another big thing with this show. So.
Got it. Kind of like on Superstore, how the lead actress, America Ferrera, I don't remember her character name, but she always has
Amy.
A different name. Yeah, Amy. She always has a different name tag on her thing. Shout out to Superstore. Great show.
Hey,
That I need to
WTF Superstore.
Yeah, if you guys want us to review Superstore in the comments below, we'd love to, by the way. So go ahead and comment that. WTF Superstore.
So I like Dr. Cox, actually.
Why?
Same as you. I felt like he was the funniest character on the show, and I watched also episode 2 and episode 3, and I totally did. I couldn't stop. I had to give it, because I was so just like on the pilot. I had to give it like a couple more episodes to see if it would have given me if I would have enjoyed it. So, but he has its moments, and he's definitely I think my favorite character right now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, that actually brings me to what I was going to ask, which was based on just the first episode, though.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Who's your favorite character?
Carla.
Yeah,
Carla.
I can see that.
Got
that
it.
monologue she has.
Yes, about the
tiny
thong.
Short monologue. I was like, yes, girl.
About the thong.
Yeah.
Have you, Camille? Have you ever gone on a monologue / rant at work like that?
I have.
I know.
I definitely
I'm
have
sure.
more than once. Definitely more
Care
than
to
once.
tell us about it?
Most recently, I do it a lot. Like And not in a bad way, but there's a couple times where us employees get frustrated with the tools that we're given, because stuff isn't necessarily working, and so we get frustrated, and that's when I kind of go on like my little rants.
When you say the tools that you're given, do you mean the kind of tools from Scrubs where the guy's like, I'm a tool, I'm a tool, I'm a toolie, I'm a tool?
I mean, yes and no, but no, the tools that we need to be able to do our job efficiently.
Sure.
And it's kind of like been a source of frustration for a very long time. And so after a while, it's just like the vase gets more full until it just like explodes.
Got it. I love this conversation. Michael, who's your favorite character based on just the first episode, number one? And then number two, have you ever gone on like a tirade at work where you're just like, that's it, I got to say some stuff to somebody or to everybody?
So just based on the first episode alone, I would actually have to say Dr. Cox as well. I mean, we see mostly from JD's perspective, and I mean all from JD's perspective, but we see most of JD in this episode. But the little that we do see of Dr. Cox, especially at the end, when he's like, newbie, you got this. You can really see that he is the guy. He's going to be the hero. He's going to be the
Obi-Wan.
The Obi-Wan, yeah. And meanwhile, Dr. Kelso, he was like, think of me as your safety net. And then he turns into this demon character, and he's like, oh, listen to me, you're nothing but a big pair of scrubs to me. And so yeah, definitely Dr. Cox, I think, won this episode for me. If I'm not looking at JD, obviously JD is the one that we get the most of in this episode, but I'd have to agree that Dr. Cox is my favorite. But as far as a rant, I'm not really a ranting kind of guy. No, I'm more of a raver than a ranter.
Anytime you've raved?
No, I haven't raved though. But if I were to rant or rave, I would probably rave more than rant.
Okay. Also, actually, speaking of which,
wait,
Carla,
what's your favorite character?
Well, yeah, just real
tell
quick.
us about a time that you've gone off on a rant.
Well, first, I just want to say that Carla, speaking of, because I'm just kind of thinking of the favorite characters, she was calling dude JD Bambi.
Right.
Does she call him that throughout, or did they just say that's a good gimmick, but let's make the other guy call? So he's called Bambi by her and different women's names by him.
Right.
Wow. So he's just getting it from all sides then.
Yeah.
Okay. So my favorite character. I mean, I like the guy that high-fived really hard.
That's the Todd.
Todd, yeah.
The Todd.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know. I liked him and Turk. I think it's funny whenever there's a character or these two characters that are that like each other or that are well liked and nobody really knows why they're not supposed to or something. You're just kind of like, who is this geek? Why is this guy? So that maybe that guy or those two. But that's very subject to change because maybe the Todd won't be around after that, or maybe they'll become boring. I thought it was going to be Dr. Cock and Balls, but turns out he didn't, he was too goody. He was too nice. As far as a rant, I feel like I must have. I worked in restaurants.
I know that you've ranted to me about your time in restaurants. Plenty.
But that's the thing is, if you work in a restaurant, as you know, you can't really let it go. Otherwise, you're going to get let go. Like, you can't just tell a customer off. I've certainly told other coworkers off when they needed to hear it. Eventually, but it takes a long time for me to get to that point. Otherwise, I just put that plastic smile on. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. You got it. But then sometimes I'm like, all right, let me tell you something. But never to a customer, I don't think. So I can't really remember a specific one. I feel like they were just short, controlled bursts, not anything too long or epic or long remembered. I feel like Camille's done it more times than anyone though.
Probably. I definitely, in the restaurant, and my problem is that my face will say it before I can speak. And even if I know, I shouldn't say it, my face will for me. So yeah, it's something that I'm actively working on, but not
Your
so much.
face gives it away.
Definitely. So there are a couple times where people have come in and been like, "Oh, can I have this?" And I'm just like, no. But then I just actually say yes, but my face is like,
Your mouth says yes, but your face says, "Get the heck out of here."
pretty much, yeah.
Your arm disappeared, Mike.
I'll go this way then.
Okay.
I just wanted to talk real quick because it was just we just lost this guy. He passed away not too long ago. Sam
Last
Lloyd.
month.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the nephew of Christopher Lloyd, and he recently passed away. So he plays Ted the lawyer, who
Great.
he's fantastic. He's kind of the whipping boy of Dr. Kelso. And you can tell just by this scene, he's kind of a meek guy, and you can tell he's not portrayed as a winner in this show too much. So.
That's cool. I actually noticed him as a character I really liked, but I thought that he was just a one-off. Like, from what I saw, the fact that it was such a small role, I was like, oh, he's probably not going to come back. But you're saying he does.
Oh, he comes back, yeah.
Oh, that's great to know. I also noticed that he had like sweat on his head. And I remember like, wow, that's either some real method acting or just somebody who's like, let's make him look moist. And they're like just spraying on the top of his head to try to make him look a little bit moister. So we can
and the hair is like poofy in the back. It's like, yeah. There it is.
Yeah, it reminds me of Christopher Lloyd in Taxi, actually.
Okay.
A little bit.
I saw this guy one time at Aroma Cafe in Studio City. He was like wearing a baseball cap, and yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you say hi?
No, I was too shy.
Well, you weren't too shy about the lady from Lost.
Well, I can't. Well, I was too shy for him. The lady who played
Evangeline
Rose, yeah.
Lilly.
No.
Oh, nice. Not her?
No, it was the lady who played Rose, the old black lady.
At Target.
Like her.
Yeah.
He saw her in the Rose at Target.
That show.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know about this guy. Well, that's good to know that he had a good long run on the show, but it's bad news that he passed away. Hopefully
brain cancer. So it wasn't from the Rona. It was he lost a battle with brain cancer.
And it was just recently, like a month ago.
Yeah. Depending on when this airs.
Well, yeah, we are right now. I don't even know when we are. Day, however many of quarantine.
80, maybe 70, 80.
Yeah.
The show kind of opens up, and I like it, and I feel like it's necessary when a show opens up and lets you know what this show is going to be like right away. What kind of comedy are we looking at? What kind of show is this going to be? I thought Upload did that well. I thought Lost did that well. A lot of shows do that well. This one kind of did it. He sits down next to Turk. JD sits down next to Turk, and he says something like, hey, if you and me are singing, our favorite rap song or whatever like that. And then I'm trying to see how he says, and then a lot of these rappers, they quote, use an extremely volatile racial slur. And the guy's like, and he's like, the N-word. And he goes, I got it. Like, we all got it. We understand, dude. We get it. So I thought that was funny. And I was like, okay. My first thought is, yes, that joke's been done a million times. Done, telling you even though you've already gotten it. But then I go, oh, wait, well, 19 years ago, had we heard this a million times? Maybe not. I don't know. So maybe that's why it feels dated, because the jokes that they do in that show, we've been hearing for 2 decades, maybe.
Wow, maybe. I can't believe that show's that old.
Yeah, 2001. I mean, it's a standard definition show, at least this first episode. I mean, it's like, I like this screenshot behind me. I had to like widen it out. So
really,
yeah, because it had the 2.
Right. The 2 bars. Yeah.
Yeah, I did the same. That's why. What's her name's head's cut off? Elliot.
Cut off. Elliot.
Do we find out why her name is Elliot? Is that her last name, or does she just have a dude's name?
No, that's her first name.
No, she says it.
Her dad wanted a son, and so
she mentions it in the pilot.
Right.
Actually, I met this lady. She was super nice.
You did? Sarah Chalk?
Yeah, and she was also, wasn't she the replacement Becky on Roseanne way back in the day?
She was second Becky, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I met her. I was working at a restaurant in Westwood, and she came in. She was super nice, and she's one of those people where it's like working in restaurants or whatever in LA, you're always seeing famous people, right? And most of the time, I never really watch TV, and I don't really remember people or care about other humans. But you can tell when they're famous because they give you a look of, yes, it's me. And you're like,
You're like,
I guess I'm supposed to recognize, so she gives me this look where she goes like, she's like, like, yes, it's me. And she was going, and some of them seem like they're going out of their way to be extra, extra nice so that you could be like, wow, that person was really, and like spread the word that she was actually really nice for, because a lot of celebrities, they get a bad rap for being annoying or for being bitchy or being assholes or whatever.
Difficult to work with. And
right. So a lot of them, when they go out into public, they try to be like extra nice to say, look, see, like Shia LaBeouf would do that, and she, anyway, a lot of them did, but she also seemed genuinely nice beyond just that. When I eventually figured out, I'm like, why is she's obviously somebody that I'm supposed to know. And then they told me, I was like, oh, the second Roseanne, got it.
And Camille, what celebrity have you met from Scrubs?
Oh, good question.
From Scrubs, none. Hold on, let me quickly take a glance. I have my IMDb page open here. Let me see if there's anybody that
Zach
I could have.
Braff, Donald Faison.
No.
John C. McGinley, Ken Jenkins, Judy Reyes, Neil Flynn.
No, not that.
Hanna-Barbera.
I don't see. Oh my God, a lot of really oh my goodness, a lot of people.
Yeah, they've had a lot of guest stars. They've had a lot of
I'm looking at the
famous guest stars.
Did they have Nathan Fillion?
Yeah.
They did?
Oh, I thought you said they did. I don't know.
I was going to say, and then I met him.
Oh, you met Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, I waited on him when I was working at a restaurant, and I seated him, and then I ran into the kitchen, and I hyperventilated for like a good 30 seconds. Wow. I was just like, oh my God, it's Nathan Fillion. And,
there was only one person in the many, many, many people I've waited on that were considered to be famous. There's only one person that I was like, where I got a little bit like, oh shit, that's, and luckily I didn't wait on him. So I didn't have to, worry about it. And that was Slash from Guns N' Roses.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
That was the only one where I was like, it's probably good that I'm not waiting on him because I don't want to accidentally spill his lemonade on his lap and then pass and then throw up and then pass out and wake up with like messy pants or whatever. I don't know.
Even LeVar, he didn't fangirl over LeVar.
No, he was he was really nice. He was a real sweet guy. He was, all of them. Brent Spiner, Bob Picardo, Bill Nye. You can go down the list of it. Paul Pierce, Baron Davis. Baron Davis was a little, for sports fans out there, Baron Davis, and since I'm a Warrior fan, and that was at the height of the We Believe seasons with Baron Davis on our team. That was a pretty fun one, and he was with Terry Hatcher. And
now he's a basketball, right?
Right. He's a basketball player. And I don't know if we have time for this, but basically the point is, when I was a kid, I had the hugest crush on Terry Hatcher. And then I found it really ironic that when, I was talking to them and whatever, and he found out that I was a Warriors fan because I dropped some knowledge on him, and he's like, pounding the fist and saying, well, yeah, really, because we're talking about potential trades for that summer. And she goes off to the bathroom, and he and I just start really talking and, getting into stuff. And then when she came back, it was kind of like she was interrupting us. At least that's what it felt like. And then I was talking about being from the Bay Area, and she's like, oh, I'm from Los Gatos too. And she was totally like trying to be nice. And I was kind of like, oh, cool. And back to Baron Davis. And then I walked away and I wanted to kick my own ass because I was like, dude, teenage Ryan, if I found out that I would be talking with Terry Hatcher and she'd be super nice and engaging and wonderful, and I'd be like, Can you just let us talk, please? I should have just beat myself up. Right? I never would have thought. Anyway, I just thought that was how times can change. Wonderful lady, though. Very cool.
She seems really cool.
She seemed to, yeah. Anyway, we got off topic, and I blame Camille probably.
What? I'm sure. Blame it on me. I don't care.
Michael, what were your favorite lines or moments of the show? Anything that really stood out to you? Something super funny, or a good moment, a good line?
Of just this first episode, you're saying, right?
Right.
Ugh. I guess, I'm thinking a little bit forward too, but just kind of in this first episode, just kind of the exchanges that he has with the janitor are kind of funny.
The penny.
Great. That was another one. God, this is so good to know. That was another one where I was like, man, I hope that janitor comes back. I really like him a lot. And so it sounds like every single character that had one tiny little cool part was brought back. And that's wonderful to hear. Yes. Those were the ones I liked the best, were like that lawyer guy, the janitor guy that held the penny. He's like, right. Did we ever find out if he put the penny there?
Find a penny.
Well, then he finds it.
Yeah.
Or he has the penny.
Yeah.
Did we ever find out if that was him?
Should I spoil it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was him.
Yes.
And what's really funny is that had I watched this episode 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have understood that joke. But I had a Zoom call with some of my closest friends who told me about how in camp he got in trouble for locking a door with a penny. And I never knew about this. And so when he was like, oh, maybe there's a penny in there, I was like, oh my goodness, that's the whole thing that kids do apparently in camp.
What divine timing. Unbelievable. The scrub
really
gods.
Was. If not, I would have been like, I don't get it.
I didn't get it. I wouldn't even know what was happening.
Yeah, so apparently you can lock a door with a penny, and my friend did that to a group of girls in camp, and they all missed breakfast because they couldn't leave their room.
Can you tell us how? Do you know how?
Oh, I think you put it in the, I don't know. Mac, if you see this,
use your imagination.
Enter in the comments how you did it.
Yeah,
that's a great answer. Everybody in the comments below, let us know how you lock a door with a penny for science.
Or any other cool pranks that you've done.
With pennies.
Yeah.
And what pennies taste like, by the way.
Or any other denomination of currency. A quarter, a peso, a pound.
I would not want to know.
Old francs.
Yeah.
But Camille, were there any parts of the show that really stood out to you, like a really funny line or a funny moment or anything that you thought made you laugh out loud?
So definitely the whole Carla interaction when she's talking about the thong. I thought that was great. And another one.
She really gives it to her. Like Elliot was kind of asking for it too. Mm-hmm. She comes up and starts talking smack. Like you better know, you better know better to come up into a Latina and start talking smack.
There was that, and then there were a couple of Dr. Cox's lines where he's just like snapping back at JD that I was like, oh, nice. Like, or one of them where he's like, if they find out that the nurses are doing all the work you don't want to do, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think Carla's mini monologue was the highlight of that episode for me.
You know, I just realized that she calls him Bambi because he's like a deer in the headlights.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I get it. No, it just hit me right now when you're talking about Carla. I was like, why does she call him Bambi? I was like, oh, that's right. They even had a little cutaway of him getting hit by a truck. Okay, I get it now. It took me long enough, but
I knew you could do it.
Thank you.
I believe in you.
Camille, I'm waiting for you to give a vote of confidence too.
Hey, you got this.
Good enough, I guess.
You can do it.
Michael, did you have any questions you wanted to jump on?
Well, I mean, what I kind of am interested to know what you said you had some notes about arguments about how this show was dated or something like that. Like, what else are you thinking about?
So I watched it twice. So I watched it and then I watched episode 2 and 3. And then I went back and watched the first one again.
Oh, good.
And that's when I started like looking at dates and what else was available during that time and when it aired. And so it aired right after 9/11. So obviously it was filmed before. But when I mean it was good in its time is that a month after, like not even a month after 9/11, people needed comedy and humor. And so it was a great show for that time. But if you look at other stuff that came out, there was Smallville, 24, 6 Feet Under, Alias, Star Trek Enterprise, Degrassi: The Next Generation, and The Office. And those are just the top 8 shows that started airing in 2001.
Wow.
And so when you look at those shows, Scrubs is listed as the most popular, but I honestly, I don't see it. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, really, in modern time, The Office is the only one that's
stood the test of
maintained
time.
its popularity. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. And that one's like all the way, that's number 8. Obviously, there's like way more shows.
Hey, in the comments below, let us know if you want us to see The Office. WTF Office.
We already did The Office.
I know,
I've never seen The Office. I mean, I tried watching the first episode and I couldn't do it.
If you can't get through it, just watch our review of The Office and you'll be all set. Anyway, what were you saying, Camille? Sorry.
Well, so when you look at those shows that came out during that time, it makes sense why it was so popular. There wasn't that much content. If it came out now, and even with an updated script, it would have tanked because there is so much good television out right now, even in the last decade, that this would have been canceled maybe after season 2 or 3.
So you're saying Star Trek Enterprise was not good content?
Oh no, I'm talking about Scrubs. Well, okay, Star Trek Enterprise was good, but
good.
If you put it like, let's say it had aired last year,
right?
And like I said, updated script, better. I don't want to say better actors, but better production overall. Everything is better. Stuff that came out last year, like The Politician, Haunting of Hill House. I don't know if that was last year. I'm just giving like things that were like generalized in the last couple of years. Stranger Things, and Schitt's Creek, which is another absolutely fantastic sitcom.
WTF Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek is amazing. Definitely you guys should do it. But I don't think it would have survived. I think there's better content now.
Right. Well, I think I know what I mean, there's like, back then there was like ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. Yeah. And like now there's like a million cable channels, there's a million streaming services, there's just so much more content available. And really, you're saying it's kind of like trying to clamber its way to the top in this modern day with like all these different networks and different streaming services all making content. And then also I would say you do have to put it in its genre too. I mean, it's a sitcom, so I don't think you could like necessarily compare it to like Stranger Things and stuff like that. But definitely, Schitt's Creek is a sitcom.
Superstore,
Superstore,
The Good Place.
Yeah, all of those.
Yeah, was it the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is a Netflix series that is just fantastic. But it's just there's this. I agree that like back then there was less choice. I think is more to the point.
Yeah, well, and they were a lot more patient with shows too. I mean, you look at Seinfeld or whatever; it sucked for the first couple of years, and they just stuck with everything. Kind of sucked for the first couple of years because they're just like, whatever, just keep it going, see what happens. And then it ends up becoming really big. Also, Michael, a little bit of pushback because I think there are a lot of people that are going to be upset with your obvious omission of the WB when you said CBS, NBC, Fox, ABC, WB.
CW.
CWB. Yeah, didn't they merge together?
Quality, yeah. I don't know any of those shows. I don't know anything.
But that's why I was saying it was great for its time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, Camille, speaking of what great for its time, let's talk about you for a little bit, shall we?
Sure.
When did you come from Switzerland to the United States of America?
2006, October.
Oh, wow. Actually,
11th to be precise.
Wow. And when did you first decide to be an actress or to pursue acting or to get into the arts in any way?
It was, that's tough because so when I was in Switzerland in high school, I did take drama, but I didn't take it seriously whatsoever. Like I was good at it, but I was like, okay, whatever. It's like a throwaway class. It's easy. I just have to show up and like talk and have fun. And then when I moved out here, I had no interest of following the arts necessarily. I wanted to be a wedding planner, like a wedding/event planner. And then my cousin told me when I was in college, she was like, oh, you should take this acting class. It's a good like stress reliever for all the other requirements that you have to take. And I took an acting class and I couldn't even get up and do a monologue. Like I was so terrified. I was like, why am I so nervous? And then the next semester I passed. So I was like, okay, well, I'll take it again. The teacher has patience and it's a fun class and there's some cool people in it. And I think I had a breakthrough moment halfway through that semester where I finally understood what acting was and not just reciting lines. And I was like, that's it. This is what I want to do. And when something clicked, I realized that I'm actually good at this. And I just have to not be shy or nervous. And yeah, then I switched my majors and here we are now.
Can you major in wedding planning or I guess event planning?
No, I guess it's business. Yeah, event planning, business, and hôtellerie, so to speak, in French. I don't really know what the term is in English.
What was the word?
Hôtellerie.
I don't even know that word.
Hospitality, I think.
Oh, okay.
Would that be the correct term? Like majoring in hospitality, like hotel management and stuff like that. Like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They take that stuff really seriously in France, by the way. They get degrees to be a waiter. It's weird.
There's this one school in Switzerland that's like huge and it's a hospitality school and a bunch of friends of mine went to it, but like a degree from there in Europe at least is more renowned than like a degree from like Princeton or Harvard. Like you could come back with a degree from Harvard and be like, yeah, so I graduated with honors, and they'd be like, oh, but somebody went to a FAFET or whatever the hell the school is, and they'd be like, yeah. And they're like, oh, sorry, we're gonna go with this guy. And it's like, what?
Europe is so weird. So, Camille, speaking of Europe being weird, what was the first acting role that you got that really kind of blew your mind? Like we all kind of have like one or two that are fun, that are cool, and then suddenly we do one and we're just like, oh my God, this is the most fun I've ever had.
That bee show was one of them that was really fun to do. It was just like I was just starting out and
the play.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like a bee show. I was like, whoa, what's that? I want to hear about this.
No. The play,
I've heard of a bee movie.
Yeah.
The play we did, that was like one of like the first like full-length plays that I was doing, and it was like super fun and I had lots of fun. And that's when I was like, I kept saying I'll keep wanting to do more stuff like that.
For those of you at home, I wrote a play called To Fly, and it's kind of like a children's fantasy play about a 14-year-old pixie that was born without wings. Tons of fun. I still love it. I don't care that
it's super
I sound
cute.
terrible saying I love my own thing that I wrote, but I do. And Camille played one of the three main characters, and she was so good at it, and it was so great. So yeah, we were very happy to have you because it was like a ton of fun having you play the bee character, as in a bee. Bzz, she was a perfect bee. I'm glad you had fun with that.
WTF to fly.
Well, kind of. Camille, what about looking forward? Is there a kind of role or a kind of genre that you've always wanted to play that maybe you haven't yet, or maybe it's outside of what you normally get typecast as?
Yeah, so I actually took a very long break from acting. When I reached about 25, I started sewing and getting into more fashion and costume design. But this pandemic actually has made me realize, and this has been like going on for about 6 months before March, I was starting to think, I was like, you know what? I really want to get back into acting. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
really something that I enjoyed doing. And lately, I keep saying I need to be in a heist movie, like Ocean's 11 / The Italian Job. Like this is the type of film that I want to be doing. And also I kind of want to create a sitcom. I don't know. I want to do a lot of things.
We'll watch at least the first episode.
Right? And
Yeah,
then
we
can
will.
review it. Thank you. That'd be great.
Just make one episode and be like, the rest is coming. The rest is coming.
It's coming, but this needs to be reviewed.
A heist movie. What kind of character would you want to be in the heist? Would you want to be like the techno nerd, or the fighting person, or the boss lady, or what?
I definitely
Explosives expert.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be super fun.
Sharpshooter.
Anything really. Like I'd be fine with anything. I just don't want to be
Martial arts expert.
the pink hair or the bright colored hair. Like people would be like, oh, she's probably like the tech expert or something like that with the glasses. But like, no, I just want to be badass. Like
you can go against type. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
The construction worker then.
Definitely explosive sounds fun. Or boss, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Like the person that's like, hey, I got a job for you. You want to be a part of this?
Do you feel like you ever got typecast?
Yes.
As what?
When I was younger, it was definitely like, well, the high school, that's like a big one. But I felt like people never took me seriously. So I was always just like, oh, you'll be the friend, or you can be like the cheerleader and stuff like that. And I was like, I actually can be serious. I don't have to be a comedic or character actor. I can do whatever you need me to do.
Mm-hmm.
So did I hear that you won some kind of fashion competition or something like that? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
I did. In 2016, it was at San Diego Comic-Con. Her Universe puts on a geek couture fashion show. And that year I entered and I got in and I won. It was my first year participating in the show. But before that, I used to model for them for their runway portion. They like before the competition, they showed their collection. And so I was a model for them. And then I switched and became a designer. And I had a Harry Potter. It was really funny because that girl just went famous with the face mask on TikTok. Did y'all see that? Where she has like a Marauder's map mask and it's black.
Oh no, that's
as you
cool.
start breathing, the map appears.
Marauder's mask?
It's a Harry Potter thing, Ryan. You wouldn't understand.
Oh, it's from Harry Potter, and it's invisible. But then you do the right spell. I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good, and the map appears. And so this girl did. It's a black mask, and as you breathe, the mask slowly, the black paint fades, and the mask appears. And so,
That's awesome.
I mean, so I did that. But differently, the dress started off, it was a Marauder's map dress with folds and everything, just like the map is, because the map folds in 3 parts. And when my model got onto the front of the runway, the dress was completely white. And as she walked on the runway, the map slowly appeared onto the dress to reveal the full map by the end of the runway.
That's awesome.
And I won the Audience Choice Award that
year.
year.
You know,
Congrats.
I remember that.
Thank
that was
you.
maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, something like that.
2016, yeah.
Yeah.
So coming up on 4 years.
Wow. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. It was super fun.
You continue that too, not just the acting, but the wardrobing and stuff like that. There's some careers in there. Good.
I have.
Well, let's start to close this show out. We get to the point where obviously Mike, I check my phone. He texts me while we're recording, and he's always like, "When are we going to do the terrible twos? When are the terrible twos?" It's like this. He's obsessed with the terrible twos.
Ryan is a dirty liar.
We don't even call them the terrible twos, but he's always insisting on calling it the terrible twos.
Ryan loves to make this joke where he says that I like to call this thing with that, but I don't call it that. He calls it that, but he likes to say that I call it that.
So you're trying to make fetch happen.
That's not a thing. So, yeah. So anyway, so as Mike said, the terrible twos are up next. The first one is The first thing is, look, scale of 1 to 10. Let's close this thing out. Scale of 1 to 10. What would you give this very first episode, Michael?
The first episode, like I said, I was a little bit less impressed with it than I thought I would be, and I think I would give it a 6.5.
Oh, okay. What about you, Camille?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was
Wow.
like 6.5. 6.5 is a good.
Okay. I'd give it a 7. It was mildly entertaining. It was short.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine as far as, objectively speaking. It was a good pilot. Everybody's introduced.
But Orion 7, just so everyone realizes, Orion 7 is like a normal person 9, though.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it's a good pilot. I can see why it got picked up. I mean, like, you understand who the characters are. You see what the voice of the show is going to be. It's a standard pilot, not like a 3rd episode pilot, but like where it's the first day, it's the first. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's you see why it got picked up is because it's a good pilot. It's a solid pilot.
It was
it's
supposedly like the hottest pilot of the season
Mm-hmm.
back then too. Yeah,
it's fine. I mean, it works. It's a well-written pilot. It just is, I guess. I mean, did I care that much about it? Not really, but I could tell that I think it's a well-written pilot. But the second part is what we're leading into here of the Terrible Twos is, for the purposes of this podcast, we watched the first episode. Now that that's over, of your own volition, would you watch the second, Michael?
Yeah, I do. I would, and I have, and I continue to. It's like one of those shows that you kind of go back to because it's kind of a feel-good show, and if you like just want to put something on that, when I'm sick or something like that, and I just want to like put on some TV and just kind of zone out, I'll put on Scrubs because it's kind of like one of those feel-good shows that, like I said, it's got heart. Like there's a lot of episodes that have this kind of heart. I mean, you even see it in this episode. Like you said, they do kind of set up what the show is going to be like. And at the end of this episode, JD's got that moment with Dr. Cox, where Dr. Cox kind of helps him to become the doctor that he should be. And he's like, yeah, I did it. And yeah, it's got heart. It's got heart. That's what I'll say.
What about you, Camille? Would you watch the second? Would you continue to watch this series?
So I did watch the second. I gave it another shot, and I even watched the third. But I don't think I'm going to continue.
Yeah.
I think that's where it ends for me. Like I said, again, there's just too much better, because it was good content. I'm not saying that it was bad, but there's better content that I would rather watch now.
Right.
You know what I liked about that, Camille? It's also what I don't like about it is that it felt like you were breaking up with us right there. Like that's what it kind of hurt. Like where you're like, look, it was great. I gave it an extra chance. I already, but I just don't feel what it was when it really hit was when you said, I think this is the end of the road for this or whatever you said. You're like, but we've reached the end of the road.
There's much more better choices out there for me than you guys.
It's not you, it's me.
Can you sing us a little End of the Road by Boyz II Men to really just...
I don't know it.
That's okay. The rest of us are thinking it in our heads. Yeah. I myself, Scrubs, we had a good run. And, we had some laughs together. I even hit the 10 seconds back button a few times, but we've come to the end of the road for Scrubs. Like,
and now we're here at the end of the road.
That's the one. So, yeah, I mean, there are some characters that I would like to see more of, and I'm going to miss them dramatically and powerfully. And it warms my heart when Michael told us that we do see more of those characters. I definitely liked the secondary characters, and I was like really hoping that there would be more of them. So if it were playing, I would check in on those characters, especially if they're like in every episode or almost every episode. If they're just kind of like they come back every 5th or 10th episode, then. But overall, no, I would not watch the second. episode, sorry to say.
Well,
guys.
the beautiful thing about this show is that it is episodic. You don't have to watch every episode through to really understand everything that's happening in the show. So, it does help because there is an overarching arc throughout the seasons. And actually, when you get to season 8, that's when it really gets really good. Season 9 was terrible.
It takes 8 episodes to get good.
8 seasons?
No, it gets good right away. But season 8, it's like you're really invested in all the characters, and it's just that's when it's just like fine dining.
See, Camille, Mike, look, let it go.
I'm just.
He's like, we break up, and he's like,
please.
Yeah, but I'm changing. I'm going back to school.
I can change
classes.
What do you want me to shave my head bald?
Yeah, I'll get rid of the dog. I know you don't like him, but
I'll get pectoral implants,
like they did on Star Trek. Anyway, I feel like we've done a lot of good here today. We've broken up with Scrubs. 2 out of 3 of us have. One of us is still really, still texting, even though we stopped, broke up.
Don't text your ass.
But the way we like to end the show is we like to say this podcast was. So I'm going to say this podcast was European.
This podcast was a comedy show with a lot of heart.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast was lots of fun and informative.
That's the first time we've ever been informative. Great.
We talked about the show and we discussed certain things.
I knew we could.
We talked about all kinds of stuff. We talked about restaurant stuff and famous people stuff.
Celebrities, yeah.
Boy, oh boy, I feel wiser.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We sure did it, didn't we?
So thanks for joining us for the Falling Tower Watch the First podcast, the podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series and we talk about it. By the way, 20 years of Falling Tower, everybody. Who knew, right? We've been doing this for 20 years, kind of.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Just a little bit longer than Scrubs has been around.
Just this quarantine's almost as long as Falling Tower's been around. But anyway, thanks very much. We watched the first episode.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
Thanks for having me.
Punch that bell notification in the face.
Yeah, teach it a lesson. And in the description box below, check out Camille's social media stuff and projects that she'd like to promote. Tell her your favorite Swiss chocolate, by the way.
Ooh,
or just favorite chocolate. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time on...
Watch the First. I don't know.